What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got the wild ride of Fernando Tatis Jr. Let's check this out.
It's not often you see a professional athlete enter the top level of competition in their early 20s and immediately become one of the best players in their sport. It's also not often you see their team make a decade-plus long commitment to them worth over $300 million. It's even less often that same player risks throwing away their whole future through a series of horrendous decisions before that contract starts, before then re-emerging as a different player. Well, all of that has happened to one of the most electrifying players in MLB, who's ready to get his potentially Hall of Fame worthy career back on track.
Okay. I know those unis are cold.
At this point, I think everyone knows about the infamous James Shields trade. In 2016, the flailing San Diego Padres traded 34-year-old declining starting pitcher James Shields to a White Sox team with playoff aspirations. In return for what they hoped would be a consistent, dependable starting pitcher, they sent San Diego a couple minor leaguers. One of them was 26-year-old starter Eric Johnson, a once highly touted prospect who hadn't quite put it together in the big leagues, but still had potential the Padres thought they could unlock. The other was a lesser-known player, a 17-year-old shortstop yet to play his first minor league game.
17-year-old?
Was the number 30 ranked prospect in the 2015 international class, one headlined by guys like Vlad Jr. and Yadier Alvarez, who definitely overshadowed him.
Damn, bro. Nah, his throwing motion is crazy, bro. Look at his foot. Damn, I'm surprised that shit don't hurt, nigga.
Tatis Jr. was a target of Padres GM AJ Preller, who described him as having the big league pedigree and being very intelligent. Tatis' name would be much more well known just a couple years later, having catapulted himself into top 3 prospect in baseball status next to Vlad Jr. and Eloy Jimenez. He made the 2019 opening day Padres roster, largely thanks to the lobbying of recent large free agent signings Eric Hosmer and Manny Machado, who urged San Diego's front office to bring up Tatis for opening day rather than manipulating his service time. The front office obliged, and the decision was the correct one. While Tatis' rookie year was limited to just 84 games because of multiple major injuries, at 20 years old he managed to hit .317 with 22 home runs, 16 stolen bases,
22 home runs, bro.
Which would have put him 9th in MLB had he gotten enough at-bats to qualify for the end-of-season leaderboard. He also ranked first among shortstops in OPS by a healthy margin. In a pandemic-shortened 2020 season, Tatis' power emerged as his biggest strength. He had 17
bat flip was cold.
57 games and finished 4th in NL MVP voting as a 21-year-old. By then, Tatis Jr. hadn't only established himself as one of baseball's most exciting young talents, but one of the best players in the game at an age where most good prospects were still in A-ball or AA, and the Padres paid him accordingly. In February of 2021, San Diego signed Tatis Jr. to the 3rd largest contract in MLB history.
14-year extension?
$40 million over 15 years. While his play up to that point had certainly justified such a deal, he only had 143 major league games under his belt, and there was some valid injury concern. That made 2021 a great opportunity to quiet these concerns, as a full MVP caliber season would help dispel the notion of Tatis being injury prone. And in 2021, once again Tatis played incredibly well. He hit .282 with an NL leading 42 home runs, a career high .975 OPS, 25 stolen bases, and 6.6 WAR in just one.
That nigga, bro, this nigga athletic as shit too.
And 6.6 WAR in just one.
Nah, bro.
Games.
Bro's a freak. I like that dance too.
And also moments where his personality shined through made him one of the most popular players in baseball. There were still some concerns over his health though. He only played 130 games because of 3 separate left shoulder injuries, all of which he came back from to play rather than having shoulder surgery, which was an option throughout the year. Still, injury issues aside, Fernando Tatis Jr. at just 22 had 2 top 4 MVP finishes, 2 Silver Sluggers at shortstop, and was on the shortlist for best players in Major League Baseball. In 2022, his Padres were well positioned for a playoff run, and Tatis was primed for his first MVP season. He also had $340 million in his future. His MLB career, oh
my gosh, bro.
$340 million in his
that shit went over the damn sign.
Had been a pretty sweet up to this point. That quickly changed.
Involving a motorcycle crash? Yo.
Tatis Jr. would miss 3 months due to a fractured wrist.
Oh no. I'm glad they're okay though. Damn.
An accident while diving to catch a ball or diving into a base, but instead a December motorcycle crash in the Dominican Republic. This was completely devastating news.
Bro got the worst luck with injuries. Man, god damn.
Of players' seasons. Here was the game's premier young superstar who would now miss at least half his season because of reckless activity, and people were understanding.
You gotta be more careful, bro.
Well, you can imagine the shock and disgust that followed when, after Tatis was asked when his motorcycle accident occurred, he responded by asking, "Which one? Which one?"
Which
so
one?
Not only did Tatis, with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, decide to drive on a motorcycle rather than a lower risk vehicle and then get into an accident, he also did not learn his lesson, because it now seemed that there were multiple motorcycle accidents.
Yo!
That the horrible decisions would stop there. In fact, things would only get worse.
August 12th, 2022. Nah, bro, that's not it. You gotta drive an actual car, bro.
Ha-Seong Kim had been doing an excellent job filling in at shortstop, and the rest of the team was clicking. They'd also had an eventful trade deadline, trading a massive portion of their farm system for Juan Soto, while also adding Josh Bell and Brandon Drury. Tatis Jr. had, for the time being, faded into the background, but his presence loomed large as everyone patiently awaited his return to a lineup that included MVP candidate Manny Machado and, of course, the newly added superstar in Juan Soto. Then came another absolute bombshell.
What happened?
Breaking news out of Major League
Suspended
Baseball,
for 80 games?
Monster news.
What did he do?
Jr. will be suspended 80 games for violating the league's PED policy. That suspension will sideline him for the rest of the season and make him ineligible for the playoffs.
No, suspended for PEDs is crazy, bro. Is this why he was so good? Now let me stop.
Reputation already hurt from the
shit, they need to test Travis Hunter for PEDs. I ain't even gonna lie to you, gang.
Quickly turned on Tatis as he became
the
stock of the league. The Padres front office.
I'm glad he came back from all this stuff, though. You know what I'm saying? It makes for an incredible story.
Padres fans were, of course, angry, and fans of other teams labeled him a cheater. The team's momentum felt like it was halted. The hard work of every player to get them to this point, as well as the massive risks made by the front office, were, for the time being, completely overshadowed by the numerous dumb decisions of one player who was a complete non-factor up to that point in the season anyway. That was on the outside though, and it didn't seem like the negative aura around the team actually affected their performance. The Padres powered through the rest of the year, finishing 89-73 without a single game played by their franchise cornerstone. Their first playoff opponent was the 101-win New York Mets. While the Mets won 12 more regular season games than the Padres, in the wildcard round it looked like the opposite could have been true, as San Diego crushed Max Scherzer in Game 1, tagging him for 7 earned runs, including 4 homers in 4 2/3 innings. The Padres took the L in Game 2, but shut down the Mets in Game 3 to advance to the NLDS against another juggernaut, this time the division rival Dodgers, who were coming off a 111-51 season, one of the greatest in recent memory. This, however, did not faze the Padres. I'd love to go in depth about this great series, but this is supposed to be about Tatis and not his team, so let's just fast forward straight to Game 4 at a buzzing Petco Park in San Diego. The Padres led the series 2-1 at this point, as the Dodgers struggled to muster much offense in Games 2 and 3. On this night, however, it was the Padres' bats that went silent, and the Dodgers led 3-0 going into the bottom of the 7th. San Diego, though, was far from finished. After a leadoff walk and a single, Austin Nola drove in Jurickson Profar with an RBI single, bringing up Ha-Seong Kim. With Tatis gone, Kim had taken the reins at shortstop. After a pretty bad rookie season with the bat, Kim made massive strides in 2022, becoming an around league average hitter. That was all he needed to be.
Damn, that shit is out of there.
Because defensively, even at one of the game's most demanding positions, Kim was about as good as a player could be. His defense carried him to a 5 WAR season, the second highest mark on the whole team. With the fans chanting his name, Kim slapped a clutch RBI double, bringing the Padres to within 1. This single hit from Kim changed the Padres' win expectancy by 27%, bringing it from 38 up to 65%. Juan Soto came up next, lining a single to right field which scored Austin Nola and sent Kim to third. Before a single out was even recorded, the Padres had evened things up, and an even larger threat loomed with Soto on first, the fast Kim on third, and Manny Machado, Brandon Drury, and Jay Cronenworth due up. A Machado strikeout and Drury pop-out barely brought down the excitement in a Petco Park that was ready to explode.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Cronenworth to center.
Damn.
Padres take the lead. Kim is in. Here
wow.
off the mound. 5-3 Padres.
Wow. Bro, that stadium was rocking.
Later,
one strike away. Hader to Freeman. He struck it out for the first time in 24 years. The San Diego Padres are headed to the National League Championship Series.
At this moment, the Padres certainly didn't need Fernando Tatis Jr. Just a year removed from being on top of the baseball world, he was an afterthought, and in the eyes of most, a clown. San Diego had done it all without him. They'd made the playoffs, defeated a stronger Mets team, slayed the dragon that was the Dodgers, and were now in the NLCS against the Phillies. This was the furthest a Padres team had made it since 1998. This, however, is where San Diego flamed out, losing in 5 games, and you have to figure that they could have used the bat of Tatis in this series. But he'd be back to help them for the 2023 season after fulfilling the final 20 games of his suspension and hopefully contribute to their next playoff run. There was one question though, where would he play? Tatis Jr. was never actually good defensively at short. Despite his athleticism and sparkling highlight reel, he put up some of the worst metrics in the league there over his first few seasons and was certainly an offense-first player. With the rise of Ha-Seong Kim as one of the best defensive shortstops in the league, Tatis' future at the position was in question. His future there was obliterated when, on the 8th of December, the Padres made a monumental move for yet another shortstop, signing Xander Bogaerts to an 11-year, $280 million contract.
Damn.
After signing him to such a large deal, it was clear that Bogaerts would be the shortstop for the Padres in 2023. There was a definite logjam at short now. So what happened to Tatis, who was now the team's 3rd best defensive option at short? Kim would move to second, Jake Cronenworth to first, while Machado obviously held down third base. DH was plausible for Fernando, but it'd be a large waste of his athletic ability and arm. It was removed as an option when the Padres signed Nelson Cruz in January. So the answer ended up being right field, the spot Juan Soto took over in 2022. He was moved to left field to accommodate Tatis, a spot that was open because Jurickson Profar left in free agency. While he couldn't play in the team's first 20 regular season games, Tatis could still participate in spring training games, the first of which he played in on the 28th of February. While spring games carry no stakes, there were certainly lots of eyes on Tatis, and tons of fans were ready to criticize him. He started understandably rusty, coming off of major injury in a full season without games, as he started off the spring 0 for 16, with his first hit finally coming on the 11th of March. His struggles would not last long though, as he ended up hitting .459 in the spring and carried that momentum into a AAA rehab assignment.
Okay.
Tatis would start his season with the El Paso Chihuahuas and brought quite a lot of attention to the team.
El Paso
These were Fernando's
Chihuahuas.
first games ever in AAA, and it didn't take long for him to crush his first AAA home run. The AAA pitcher, who was forced to face one of the best hitters on earth, was not happy about this and quote tweeted a video with a comment saying, "Cheater hits a home run during a steroid suspension."
Oh my
As
gosh.
you would hope, Tatis would dominate the Pacific Coast League, hitting .515 with 7 home runs in 8 games. He seemed all ready to go, and on April 20th, he played his first Major League Baseball game in 18 long months. We did not know it, but we were about to see a reinvented Fernando Tatis Jr. This was a guy who hadn't played in forever and had heaps of negative attention thrown on him everywhere he played.
Nah, that's crazy, bro.
Something to Tatis he never really had to do with at shortstop, the fans being in his ear all game. At Yankee Stadium, he was predictably booed and heckled. At Wrigley Field, fans chanted, "He's on steroids." And
Yo, nah, he trolling them too.
probably the most Tatis thing he could do, dancing along to the chants. This came after he made a great catch in right field, robbing Seiya Suzuki of a base hit. That was something Tatis did pretty frequently in 2023, not just to Seiya Suzuki, but to hitters across the league. Now, I mentioned a reinvention of Tatis Jr. This is how he was reinvented. Tatis was a bad defensive player, period. He was erratic and error-prone, and if you want to look at advanced metrics, they'll tell you the exact same things as his massive amount of errors at shortstop do. Tatis was definitely an offensive-first player and had work to do if he wanted to change that. That work certainly wasn't being done during the time he missed with his shoulder and wrist injuries. Add on to the fact that Tatis was taking on a new position and hadn't played since 2021, and it was safe to not expect a ton from him defensively in 2023. But Tatis didn't just come back as a slightly improved defender. He didn't even just come back as a good defender or a great one. He came back as one of the best defenders in Major League Baseball. In right field, Tatis' athleticism was let loose. He went from a shortstop who was rushing throws and bobbling balls hit at him
Ooh,
fast,
right in the
to having a
pole.
whole third of the outfield to show off his speed. While there would be no more flashy shortstop highlights in his future, Tatis added to what will be an all-time great highlight reel by adding home run robberies to his skill set.
Damn, bro. This
another
nigga's a
highlight
freak
reel by
athlete,
adding
bro.
home run robberies
Look how, oh my gosh, get up. Oh my
to his skill set.
goodness,
Also
bro.
better was an arm that Tatis
Damn.
had to pull back on with longer throws from the outfield.
That nigga got up there.
Tatis ranked in the top
Shit.
6% in StatCast new arm value metric, and ranked in the top 4% in arm strength, ahead of guys known to have cannons like Elly De La Cruz and Ronald Acuna Jr. He ended up with an incredible 29 defensive run saves in the outfield, ranking him first among all position players with a 6-run lead on the second-place Andres Gimenez. The only reason he's not considered the best defensive player in baseball is that right field is a less valuable position than places like center field and shortstop, but what he did was still enough to earn him the National League Platinum Glove for 2023. So with his defensive rebirth explained, we now gotta talk about Tatis as a hitter. At first glance at his 2023 stat line, it
25 home runs.
was quite rusty. These stats would lead you to believe that Tatis is not the same hitter he once was. That is not the case. Perhaps because of karma coming back to bite him for all of his wrongdoings, Tatis was terribly unlucky with the bat in 2023. While his advanced metrics didn't quite measure up to where they were in his MVP caliber seasons, they still suggested Tatis was a much better hitter than last year's numbers suggest, as shown by a .281 expected batting average and a .508 expected slugging. Also notable, despite walking a bit less, Tatis' strikeout rate was also way down from where it was in 2021 and 2019. In many ways, Tatis' 2023 was reminiscent of Ronald Acuna Jr.'s 2021. Coming off a major injury that took him out for 292 days, Acuna was still above average as he recovered from injury and got reacquainted with MLB pitching, putting up an OPS plus just a tick below Tatis's at 112. While Acuna's torn ACL may have been a more impactful injury than Tatis's wrist and shoulder issues, Tatis Jr. was still able to put up 4.4 Fangraphs WAR, ranking him top 30 amongst major league position players, despite being just about 13% better than the average hitter. We saw what incredible things Acuna did in his second season back from injury, posting career highs in just about everything, and taking home MVP despite a lot of defensive regression. Next season will be Tatis' age 25 season. He should just be entering his prime, and all he has to do to return to being an MVP candidate is be 90% the hitter he was when he was just 22, now that his defense has gone from a weakness to a massive strength in his game. Even if Tatis doesn't bounce back to MVP candidate status at some point in his career, though I do absolutely think he will as early as next year, it's still pretty wild what Tatis has experienced in his young career, and his reinvention has only raised an incredibly high ceiling. If you made it this far, be sure to give this video a like.
I got you, gang.
The channel if you haven't
I
already.
got you, and I'm gonna give that subscribe button too. Hey man, that was WVid, bro. Hey, this dude Fernando Tatis, bro, he might be one of my favorite MLB players, bro. You know what I'm saying? Even though I literally just started watching, you know what I'm saying, MLB, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's probably one of my favorite players already, gang. So, you know what I'm saying? I wanna know what you guys think down in the comments below. You know what I'm saying? Y'all let me know what other MLB videos y'all want me to react to. Without further ado, I'm out. Gang!